weirdest thing. In 2006, in October 2006, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation in America, released a 9-page document, right? And in this nine-page document was entitled "White Supremacist Infiltration of Law Enforcement."
Yeah.
In that 9-page document, the FBI themselves stated that there are white supremacist gangs infiltrating police forces. Now, I am not saying every single police officer in America is a white supremacist racist.
Yeah.
However, going back like to 1998, black people have definitely had a problem with the police force of America.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I looked at what that police officer did to that man, and I asked myself, is it murder? Well, murder, according to the law, has to have a degree of premeditation. This man was warned by bystanders, this police officer was warned on numerous occasions that you're killing this man. Let me just think about that just for a second. Most of us as human beings, if we see real harm coming to others, intrinsically we will stop and would say, well, look, that's enough. Because whilst you may fight, you don't want to kill anybody. At least most normal people wouldn't. But this police officer wasn't normal. In fact, he was extraordinary, but he was extraordinarily wicked, because he had his feet or his knee on the throat of this man. And it was the symbolism with that. Many people don't understand why black people are upset all over, because it's the symbolism of being trodden on the feet by a people who have traditionally not treated us very well. This man deliberately and with a forethought killed this man. He knew what he was doing. And perhaps the most grotesque part of this video was when the medic turned up and put his fingers to try and get a pulse from the man who was on the floor, and clearly the man had lost consciousness. What did the police officer do? Did he remove his knee, or did he place his knee back on the neck of that man? Because you see, that's where the murder charge comes in. Right. Saying he knew what he was doing, right. And of course people are upset over this. They say now this is the third night of rioting. And, people want me. A few people come and said, I should condemn the rioters. I'm here to condemn the actions of the police officer and the 4 police officers who stood around, or 3 or 4 officers who stood around and did nothing whilst their colleague, deliberately killed a man. That's what I'm here to condemn.
So would you say then that the other officers are accomplices within the murder?
Well, look, let me just say to you, look, let's turn it around and let's look at a case over here. A few short years ago, a group of youngsters attacked another youngster in Victoria Station. Don't know if you remember the case. And what youngsters do, there's always one or two who are probably act perhaps in a way in which they shouldn't. A knife was pulled, or a machete, and they killed another youngster. There were youngsters there who had nothing to do with that. They were not aware that that man had a knife or a machete or whatever it was. That was clear. This was even accepted. However, these youngsters were found guilty under the joint enterprise law. Right. Now, these were not children skilled in law. These police officers are skilled in law. They are peace officers. And as far as I'm concerned, the same principle that was used on those youngsters in Victoria Station should be the same principle that's used on those officers in Minneapolis. Because as far as I'm concerned, and any half-decent lawyer will tell you that joint enterprise was part of this procedure. It will be a travesty if and when this police officer is charged, or now this ex-police officer is charged, that the other officers are also not charged with murder under the principle of joint enterprise, because they acted like terrorists. They did not act like police officers. And as far as I'm concerned, they were gangster in how they behave. And I would even go to the extreme and bring out a RICO charge against these officers, yeah, to ensure that none of them escape. Because what they did was a joint enterprise that ended up in the death of an innocent man. And before anybody listens to the PR spin and propaganda, let me tell you, that man did not resist arrest. He did not resist arrest. I've watched the video. In fact, what I did today, yeah, I attempted to call the shop where he was who called the police initially.
Yeah.
Didn't get through, because apparently there are lots of people who were trying to get through, because there was a particular question I wanted to ask them, but they answered it on an Instagram post that I saw not too long ago. This man did not resist arrest. There was nothing about him. There was nothing that this man had done whereby you can say that the police were justified in their behavior. None whatsoever. Miss me completely with the argument that we should wait until all the facts come out. The mayor of Minneapolis came out, and he made very clear why these officers had to be fired. They moved very, very quickly. But I want everybody to pause just for 1 second and ask yourself a question. And I hope you come to a right conclusion. And the question you should ask yourself is, in the absence of a phone camera, in an absence of social media, and had this situation just been one of 3 or 4 witnesses who saw what had happened, would the mayor have fired those officers?
Interesting. I don't think it would happen, because I will take you back to Rodney King, right? So
Yeah.
People were appalled by what happened to Rodney King. However, it was one of the first times it was filmed on camera. Hence the reason why there were the songs of Cop Killer and Fuck the Police, right?
Yeah.
So this quote unquote war in America between the police and unarmed black men, or black men in general, has been great for decades. So my question now is, what is next? What do you think should be next?
Well, I think what is next is fairly simple. This is just another episode in the ongoing saga of racism, yeah, and complete disrespect to people of color in America. This is what it is. You know, many people will be saying, well, look, you're in England. Why do you care? Well, because 90% of my family are in America. They're in New Jersey. They're in North Carolina. They're in Texas. You know, a couple of my cousins from Texas listening in now. You know, and so, of course, you're concerned. You know, please miss me also with the nonsense that, well, they're American. There is no race called American. American is just an acknowledgement of where you are on the planet. You still remain black. And so don't tell me as a black man in England that I can't comment on what's going on with people who look exactly like me in America, who seem to be experiencing the same things that I've experienced being in this country. And so in answer to your question is, this is just the latest episode. Once this episode closes down, there'll be a following episode next week, the week after, probably next month, but guaranteed there will be a future episode coming up. And unfortunately, we will react in exactly the same way, and nothing will get done. But later on, I'm going to give a suggestion as to what can be done.
Okay, so you said we will react in the same way. So that's one of the things that that I want to kind of speak on. So
yeah,
I see the cycle. So I gave the history of the police brutality in America.
Yeah.
During the time of Rodney King, that sparked the LA riots. What we are now seeing is rioting and looting again. We've seen it before. For me, I've always said, if you do the same thing, you get the same result.
Yeah.
Okay, and to me, that's just a logical explanation.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that it's an emotional time, and I understand that, people's emotions are running high. But I always ask myself if rioting and looting is the right answer, is the correct answer for this.
Well, you see, it depends because you look at it as rioting and looting, and I suppose on the surface that's exactly what it is. But I actually see it as something different, and I see it as a rising up of a group of people who are incredibly disenfranchised. Whether they're black people, whether they're poor white people, they are disenfranchised. And I'll tell you this: the police have to understand that they are civilians in uniform.
Right.
And as civilians in uniform, they can only govern by consent. The police actually believe now, because there's been an inversion, a perversion, if you like, that they somehow work for the government. And only on a purely surface level they do. But if they understood their oath, they would understand that they're civilians in uniform, and as such, they can only govern by consent. When you see people looting and destroying shops, of course, on the surface, they should be condemned for that because you're robbing other people of their livelihoods. But if you scratch the surface and you look just a little bit deeper, what you will find is that when consent is no longer given because the actions of those who have that power is abusive, then when you see rioting and you see looting, of course, on the surface, as I've explained, it's theft. But what it is, it's actually a withdrawal of consent from the status quo, who have used their power to subjugate and keep people in a regressive state, keep people in a state whereby the metaphorical boot, or in this case of the man who was killed, a knee on his neck. That's what I see. And you cannot absolve the state of the blame for what is going on at the moment. I give you power. And I've given you power through my taxes and through my consent, and you believe that you can treat me in a retrograde manner and there should be no response. The rioting, when you see the people on the street, not everybody was looting. Yeah, that's a lie. Yeah, there were many people on the street who were throwing bricks and throwing rocks and throwing stones. And that is a very clear signal to the government that we do not give consent to be policed in this way. We do not give consent to be handled in this manner. And we do not give consent for so-called peace officers to take our life because they're on an ego trip that day. So yes, condemn the rioters, but condemn the police. Yeah, condemn those behind the police. Condemn those who facilitate the police to continually kill people and get away with it. It's got to stop.
So
you do not say, a woman was raped over there, and you say, yes, but what was she wearing? Because if you said that, people would look at you and they would question you and they would ask, well, why are you behaving in that manner? You don't say that a man was brutally murdered by thuggish, brutal police, and then say, yes, but there were some killings 250, 300 miles away. And it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's a false equivocation. And, Stormy said poverty and hopelessness. It's true. And who was that? Niche said victim blame. It's true. You don't blame the victim for being murdered. You blame the person that murdered them. You understand?
Right. And go on. So what we're
go ahead, sir.
We're going to do now, we're going to go to solutions.
Solutions.
Solutions now.
Yeah.
Let's round up with the solutions.
All right. The solutions for me is simply this. And unfortunately, it's not a simple solution. It's a solution that's going to be years in the making. It took us a long time to get to this situation, and it will take us a very long time. Yes, it will take a very long time to get out of this situation. I think where Americans are concerned, black Americans are concerned, what they should do is resign en masse from both the Democrat and the Republican parties. That's the first thing that they should do. They should then have a group of trusted people who they trust to bring the facts to them in a clear, incisive way that benefits them as a group of people. Look,
Correct.
I have a great deal of respect for Israel. Yeah, and I do. And do you know the reason why? Because
Go on.
Israel has no problem standing up for Jews around the world. It doesn't matter whether it's in America. It doesn't matter. You know, my business partner's a Jew. Do you understand? And Drake, terrific guy. Do you understand? And the
He's
great thing about them, the great thing about Jews, they don't ask you to become one. You understand?
right.
Because they're
They don't
happy.
need someone.
They don't need you to become one. Yeah, but the point that I'm making is that they stand up for Jews. You know, we've got our brethren right now living in Argentina. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And there are plenty of Jews there. The Jews in Argentina are as protected as the Jews in London, as protected as the Jews in Israel. And
Right.
why can't we do exactly
thing.
the same thing? Do you
That's right.
understand? You have Jews in the Democratic Party, but you have Jews in the Republican Party. You understand?
That's right.
You do. You do.
But I tell you something.
Go ahead.
You've got Jews in the Democratic Party. You've got Jews in the Republican Party. You have Jews in Labour. You have Jews in Conservative. But if you go for Jews, they wouldn't give a damn what party they're about.
They all unify against you.
And if black people don't take the exact same way, okay, that everyone else does, and I've said, you're gonna make me go off now because I've said this for so long.
Yeah.
If you occupy a certain level on the socio-economic ladder, it does not matter what party that you are from. It doesn't matter that it doesn't matter you are Republican. It doesn't matter, because if they go for black people, if we don't look at the fact that they are black first and start thinking black first, then these things will happen. Jews, again, I admire Jewish people for saying, listen, we can be Democrat, Republican, but if you come for us as Jews, we don't give a damn about what party.
That's right, because we're Jewish first.
That line, we got problems.
Yeah, and so when we're looking at the solutions then it is that we divest ourselves from these parties, because we then have to take on ideologies and listen to ideologues who do not speak on our behalf. And so, you know, when have you ever heard black people, for example, say that we believe that we should have abortion at 9 months? Just before the child is going to be born. But this is the policy of the Democratic Party. Do you understand? And you say to yourself, there are black people in that Democratic Party that support that party, and as a result must support that policy. Otherwise, they wouldn't support that party. There are Christians who they believe in the 10 Commandments, or as my Jewish friend will tell me, 613 commandments, and they will say that thou shalt not kill. But yet Christians are members of a party that believe in abortion, do you understand, at 9 months, which is killing. And so all I'm saying to you is if we do the same thing, as you said earlier, we will get the same result. So we divest ourselves from that. We then look critically at the policies and then make demands as to what it actually is that we want. America and the Federal Reserve, has always said that we're controlling the purse strings tightly. There is no money. We cannot help you. COVID-19 hits, and all of a sudden, they found 10 trillion. Do you understand? Right. Which your great-grandchildren are going to be paying off that debt. And so you haven't used that money to build the infrastructure of poor communities. Yeah, you have not done that. You've not built infrastructure in those communities in terms of education, paying teachers what they're worth. Yeah, even paying some police what they're worth. Do you understand? In those communities, you haven't done that. You have left those communities to rot, hoping that there will be internecine warfare, so black people can hate white people. Yes, so straight people can hate gay people. You understand? So Muslims can hate Jews, and Jews can hate Muslims. They fermented this problem. Yeah, they fermented this problem, because I don't know a single black person who, when they was growing up, saying that when I grow up, I want to be a bum. I want to be a gangster. I want to be a man. Net one. All of them had the same aspirations of some of the rich people that I know. Right. Yeah, they have the same absolute aspirations, but something somewhere is lost along the line. The next thing that I would say, and you know, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to say this, because my stubbornness gets me in a lot of problems. We really have to try try as much as you can to keep your family intact. Yeah,
Oh,
you've got to,
oh yeah.
because that's the root of it. And as I said, I'm a hypocrite at the moment, because I said to you, my stubbornness stops me from doing a lot of the things that I should do. You know,
Right.
hopefully I'll change. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, where there's life, there is hope. But we need to do something different to what we're doing. So, because we're speaking about America, because we're speaking about Floyd, because we're speaking about what the solutions are, here's what we should be doing. Here's what here's what my family in America should be doing. I've got very little family in the UK. I have,
Mm,
I have very little family in the UK now. And
mm,
I would say this. There is an upcoming election in 2020.
mm.
Pool your votes, pool your resources, and find out, make demands. Look for example, to the gay community. Many people say, well, what are you talking about? That's disgusting. Look to the gay community and look how the gay community have organized themselves on the basis, yeah,
Of
that
just
they
gay.
say are just being gay. And
Mm.
they've organized themselves and they've infiltrated every single strata of society in the UK and in America. Why? Why? Because they knew they were being treated disgracefully.
That's
And you
right.
know
Because
what?
sorry,
Someone
go on.
somewhere sat down and said they're not going to accept it. Stonewall in the UK said we're not accepting it. They're not.
I
Yeah.
I am on. I am hoping, yeah, that somewhere in America right now, there are. Sorry, I only hope that somewhere in America right now, there are a group of black people who are looking at this thing non-emotionally. I hope there are a group of black
Yes.
people in America that are looking at this thing structurally, logically, objectively, because what they need is that.
Yeah.
I said, I will back. Black Americans need leverage. That's what they need. They
Yes.
don't need emotions. They don't need people just being emotional and coming to us and the whole world of emotional arguments. Though emotions are quite high. We need a bunch of black men getting together and thinking, getting
And
their thinking,
women.
and women, yeah,
Yeah.
and getting their thinking caps on. But I say men because men are normally the ones that are leaders in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Getting their thinking caps on and thinking how to think themselves out of the situation. I've always
Yes.
said, everyone can get to a destination differently. Black people in America keep thinking they can get to the destination the same way. And what I'm saying is, it has been shown time and time and again that you are attempting to get to this destination using the exact same route. So use another route.
Use alternate routes.
An alternate route. It might take you longer to get there, but what
Yes.
it shows is the fact that you have identified the fact that the route that you are taking is not working for you. Try another route.
Yeah, and I agree with that. So, on a practical basis, many people look at Congress and they look at the Senate and they believe that's the